Hi folks, welcome to the Arena Chat. I'm Alexander Trowbridge. Joining me in the newsroom as always is Arena editor David Mark. And David, Newt's in. The former Speaker of the House is off and running in the race for the presidency, but his candidacy leaves a lot of open questions. To help us answer those questions, we're joined on the phone by former RNC Chair Michael Steele and former DNC spokeswoman Karen Finney. But David, I want to start with you. What does this mean for the 2012 GOP race?
It certainly adds another prominent voice to the field, along with Mitt Romney, Tim Pawlenty, and perhaps one or two others. Of course, there are still many questions about former Speaker Gingrich, ranging from his personal life to the fact that he's been out of office for more than a dozen years now. Karen, that's where I would actually like to begin with you. What do you see as the biggest liability for Speaker Gingrich as he enters this presidential race?
I think certainly the biggest challenge that he's got is he has to convince voters that he's the new Newt Gingrich and try to, not have to get into the old Newt Gingrich, not just because of the three marriages, but also remember he was seen as a very divisive figure. There was the front page of the New York Post with him, the picture of him crying like a baby because he complained about where he was seated on Air Force One on a trip. I mean, those are the kinds of things that if you think back to the Gingrich era, the Republican Revolution that kind of flopped, he doesn't want to have to talk about that. He wants to be able to talk about, Gingrich as an ideas man and the kinds of things he's been working on since leaving office and the fact that he has, found God, he's married to his third wife, and she will apparently be a very prominent figure on the campaign trail. That's what he wants to do. So the question is that going to be acceptable to voters?
Now, Karen, even with all that, he still does bring a whole host of credentials to the race. And if he did get the nomination, he'd be running against President Barack Obama. Let me get in on some of your thinking from your end. How would Barack Obama run against Newt Gingrich?
I think Barack Obama, interestingly enough, would run against Newt Gingrich, similar to what we saw in the dynamic between President Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich. I was working for President Clinton at the time. This whole conversation about who can be the adult in the room, I think that's what you would continue to see from Barack Obama. I think there's a couple of other things, though, to remember as well. In terms of the dynamics going into 2012, and not just because, we got Osama bin Laden, but we are starting to turn the corner in the economy. So whoever Barack Obama runs against is going to have to make an argument to the voters that they need to, sort of change horses midstream. And that's always a tough argument to make. And again, someone like Newt Gingrich, he's undisciplined. He is prone to, sort of this lavish rhetoric that sometimes goes a little bit too far. So I think the chances are he will stumble, whereas I think Barack Obama will continue to be very consistent, and again, the adult in the room.
Well, Karen, this race is heating up with Newt's entrance. We look forward to your continued analysis on the arena. Thank you so much.
Bye, you too.
For the Republican side, we're joined by former RNC Chair Michael Steele. Chairman Steele, as you know, there's been some consternation in the GOP with the current 2012 field. You even said in a post on the arena that someone has to kick it up a notch. Is Newt Gingrich that someone?
I think he is. I think that Newt is going to bring a level of insight, both from the perspective of the workings of government, how the federal government operates and deals with the challenges of debt and deficit. After all, the last balanced budget happened on his watch that the government had. I think he also will bring, for the base, a connection that he has with them as well. He has built an incredible network over the last 13 or so years across the country through his writings and the films, his speeches, and his appearances, has been consistent in delivering the message of how we move the country forward, how we build the party up. And I think that's going to be revelatory for a lot of people. I think it's going to be relevant to the debate, and I think it's going to push everybody's game up a little bit to keep up with this guy.
Let's assume former Speaker Gingrich does win the Republican nomination and he's facing President Obama. What would you see a Gingrich-Obama race looking like? What would be the biggest points of difference, and how would Speaker Gingrich be able to run against the sitting president?
I think that I've said for close to a year now, the one thing I would really love to see is a national debate between the President of the United States and Newt Gingrich. I think that would be one of the most intellectually exciting and stimulating debates we have had since the Lincoln-Douglas debates, to be honest. I really believe that those two men would spar with each other in a way that would just be refreshing to hear and to see. I think the way a Newt Gingrich will run and against a Barack Obama, he won't be afraid of him. I think that he won't be afraid to take the president on the issues, on his policies. You've heard Newt, and I know I have heard Newt say before, it's not about the person of the president. It's not about his personality. It's not about him personally. It is about the policies, the principles, and ideas that going to matter in this debate and should matter in this debate. And I think he will keep it on that playing field. I think you will see from him, because I know him and have worked with him, an aggressive reach into communities that aren't traditional voting blocks for the GOP, and not 6 weeks before a general election. But probably, if I know Newt, he's already laid down that groundwork. So I think he will elevate the A game of the GOP. I think a number of other candidates coming into the race will likely do the same, and that's why I think it's important for this moment, this transitional moment, for someone like Newt to get into the race, to really start to push the engine a little bit on this campaign and get these guys out there, and I think he'll do a good job of doing that.
Well, now, Chairman Steele, personality being trumped by policy would be an ideal world, but we know that that's not the case, and that personality matters. And you know the knock on Newt. People worry about his baggage. How can he overcome that?
Who are these people, in the words of Jerry Seinfeld? Who are these people? They're the Washington establishment types, both in the media and inside the GOP. Remember, Newt was not an establishment favorite. A lot of folks didn't want him to be Speaker of the House. And so, these people these unnamed individuals, I want to see someone in the GOP stand up and put their name out in front and call it like they see it. All this backroom noise about, Newt's baggage. Newt has no more baggage than anyone else, and that dynamic has changed dramatically since the days of Bill Clinton. So the reality of it is, a lot of folks want to go down that road. I don't think the American people could care a rat's behind about any of that. What they want to know is, if I risk my vote on you, will I have a job? Will my businesses prosper? Will my family be secure? Will my country be safe? And if you can address those questions and bring it in perspective for them, they'll be fine. I know a lot of folks talk about the conservatives in the party, are nervous about Newt. I haven't heard it, and I run in some fairly conservative circles, and I think Newt has already begun to handle, if you will, that question pretty well. So let's wait and see. I don't want to prejudge anything. The man is wanting to put his name out there before the public, and certainly starting with the base. Let him do it, and then let them make that judgment instead of deciding ahead of time that he's got a problem.
Former chairman of the Republican National Committee, Michael Steele, thank you for joining us.
All righty.
And folks, as the 2012 race heats up, for more on the news, you can always turn to Politico, and for more on the debate, head to the arena.